Grab some coffee, a Mountain Dew, maybe both. A storm is brewing. The Brainstorm. Welcome to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike.
Hey, welcome to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. It's cool that we're able to sit here and talk about different subjects that you guys, our listeners and our viewers, just seem to have a lot of problems with. And you're not alone, because we have the same problems you do as business owners and business executives, Mike. We all experience very, very similar things, day in and day out, week in and week out, and unfortunately year in and year out. But I know that a lot of these speed bumps that we're going to talk about today, a lot of business executives experience these exact same things.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have learned what we've learned from the experience of going through the painful process of experiencing most, if not every single one of the speed bumps we'll discuss today. We see it time and time again with our clients and with others that we talk to in our community and beyond. And hopefully we can add some value today and maybe give some clarity around how to address some of these problems that are just kind of unavoidable, but you can get past them.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like, and that's today's show. Today's show is navigating business speed bumps, or kind of overcoming business speed bumps. Sometimes you can call them roadblocks, but really, if you put enough effort, enough thought around it, you can get around them. So I think a better name for them is definitely speed bumps. Over the past 15 years of having Splash Omnimedia, a marketing and advertising agency firm here in South Carolina, and then having other brands that really hold hands well with that, with Brand Buzz and now the Brainstorm and some other things that work well in the business world, business executive world, of which we do every day. Next Degree Leader, leadership development type of organization that both you and I participate in quite a bit, Mike. We learn a lot of these things. We see them all the time. So we're able to really use the past 15 years of our experience. Sometimes we experience them on our own, like you were just saying, Mike, and sometimes we experience them through our clients' experiences. Right. And then it seems like we're saying the word experience a lot right now. So let's put it into play. Let's put it to play here.
Well, hopefully this will be a great experience
for everybody,
for all of our viewers and listeners.
Exactly. So, Mike, talk to me about one of the, and quite honestly, over the past 2 years, and being that we prep for the show, I already know what you're going to talk to us about, but I would have to say that over the past couple of years specifically, and I don't really see any let up in this is probably one of the main issues that business leaders talk about all the time. Talk to us about one of our first speed bumps today.
Yeah, we'll say speed bump number one or challenge is employee recruitment.
Yeah.
And so it's not just finding people. And of course, today we're in this kind of in the midst of COVID world where there are more people in the job market today than there were this time a year ago.
Yeah.
This time a year ago, the job market was really strong. And it was really difficult then to find, it was like finding a needle in the haystack, trying to find that perfect fit for a company. Today, there are more people looking, but that doesn't mean that the challenge doesn't still exist. And in fact, I think it just kind of surfaces some additional challenges. Now you have people who might take a role because they need a job.
Right.
And it's not really the job or career path that they really want. So here's some things that we hear, people say when they're having employee recruitment challenges. They might say things like, I just can't find good people. Our last few hires, those people turned out to be idiots.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's said throughout history. That is said.
It's hard to find people that are committed beyond just a paycheck.
Yeah.
We use the Flintstones, Yabba Dabba Doo Out with Fred and Barney. It's generally not a good indication.
They come in right on time and they leave right on time, and they kind of have...
But they don't go to the bathroom until they get to work.
Yeah, that's right. They come in on time, and then it takes them another 30 minutes to get settled, ready to go. Right?
That's usually an indication that you may have made an improper hiring decision.
Yeah.
So here's some things that we found help really... I'm not going to pretend that you can eliminate having some hiring challenges because there's no crystal ball. Yeah. And no matter how much you vet someone, inevitably they may just turn out to not be the right fit.
Right.
But you can reduce the likelihood that you're going to experience a bad hire as frequently by doing a few things. Number one is slow down. People blast through the hiring process generally because they wait until they have an emergency. Someone left and they've got to fill that void immediately. And they didn't plan. They weren't able to plan accordingly. They weren't able to plan to make that hire well in advance. Slow it down. You get through the short term with your existing team. Find some other solution. But don't make another bad hiring decision just because you try and blast through it.
Yeah, and pressure, right? Don't let your people pressure you in speeding up the process.
That's
right? Like we need somebody. So you get someone, you spend 15, 20 minutes with them and you like them, right? You don't know if they can do anything associated with the job. You like them, but because you're in such a rush, like you're talking about, you just say, okay, well, when can you start?
That's right. Conduct numerous interviews. Here at Splash, in all of our brands, we take a process where we actually have numerous interviews with differing people on the team with different personality types.
Ours is 4 to 5.
And they're looking for specific characteristics that we've established that help us identify what an ideal team player here at Splash or at Brand Buzz, Next Degree Leader, so forth and so on, what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so if they don't fit those key characteristics, ultimately they are going to bog the team down and it's going to be less of a positive impact and more of a potential challenge.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so we look for those things. We use personality profile, test. We use DISC, Strength Finder, Enneagram, Myers-Briggs. I mean, we will use as many tools as possible to help identify really, is this person self-aware? Are they who they portray themselves to be? And do they have the natural kind of giftedness, the natural personality traits that are needed to advance in the role that we're going to recruit them for?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I know that we have 4 to 5 different interviews that run through that process, Mike. And then I know a lot of times we'll do social media checks on them, right? We want their social media links. Sometimes we ask them for them. Sometimes we actually can just stalk them out, right? And we have a couple of people on our team that's specifically designed to do that, to figure out, what their off camera, if you will.
Right. If they say, hey, we joke, but if on Wednesday they say, "Hey, every Wednesday night I lead a Bible study, and I turn it in really early every night. I'm in bed at 9:30." But you look on social media and on Instagram, you can see they're doing keg stands at 2 a.m. 3 Wednesdays in a row.
Right.
Something's not adding up here.
Exactly.
Own who you are, and so really, I think the most valuable thing that we do, Matt, is once we've gotten someone all the way through and they've made it through all of that interview process, the personality profiles, the social media check, then we sit down with our team and the candidate and we just have a discussion with them. And we allow them to ask anyone on our team any question they'd like and vice versa. And what we found is by allowing our team to weigh in, number one, they buy in when we make the hiring decision collectively.
Right.
But we is always smarter than I. And, there are people on our team where I know many instances where you and I were pretty committed to making a hire and some folks on our team identified some issues that we had to pump the brake and step back. In some cases, we ultimately didn't make that hire.
I can tell you that overcoming and navigating business speed bumps is vital and crucial to overall success. And the longer you're down or the longer it's taking you to hurdle over that speed bump or the longer it's taking you to get over it, the more you're kind of stuck in the mud, if you will, and stuck where you are. And no business executive likes to be stuck in the mud, right? I mean, that's where all pressure starts to really pile on, because not only do you know that you're stuck, your entire team knows that you're stuck. And so Mike was just talking about employee recruitment and hiring the right people. And And we could do an entire show just on that, because you have the right people in the right seats, but you might have the right people in the wrong seats, or the wrong people in the right seats. Worst case, you have the wrong people in the wrong seats. Right?
Yeah, those are usually easier to identify.
Right.
You can eliminate that problem pretty quickly.
Those are the first ones that need to go. And then absolutely the worst thing you can do, as you know, Mike, is your team morale starts going down when they watch you not take action on a bad situation that you and everybody else knows about. And so that really kills morale, which is usually the number 2 speed bump that businesses have, is just company morale and culture. You and I concentrate and probably put the majority of our leadership effort in this area.
Yeah.
I call it number 2. Usually it's number 1. It's just in the last couple of years, people have become the number 1 issue, I would think. So I'm slipping culture down to number 2, even though it bumps right.
How these people interact with each other, right?
It usually goes right back to number 1 pretty easy. But company morale and culture is just a main issue. It's a big issue. When you have people in your office that is the water cooler talk. Right, they just stand around the water cooler, and that really can be the break area. It can be someone's desk. It can be the printer or the copier. It can be you call everything as an analogy of the water cooler talk. But
it's where the gossip occurs.
It's where it happens, man. So if the office is full of gossip and drama, there's an issue. If you feel like you have an office just full of like negative Nancys, if you will, there's an issue. If people just ride the clock, like you were just mentioning a minute ago, there's an issue. If no one is going to work in your business like you feel like they need to, or like you do, you're going to have people that really, really buy in, and that's going to be noticed. And if you don't feel like there's any sense of loyalty, that's an issue, right? You want people to be very loyal. And as we both know, Mike, people buy into the why you do it, not just what you do. Now, some people buy into what you do because they just really like the what, or they're reading into the why or making it up their own why.
But we know that doesn't last long.
No, that's a short-term scenario. Yeah. And so they really have to decide and understand, and you need to build your why, because as you've heard this saying many, many times, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. It definitely does. So
absolutely.
Here's some of the things you can do. You can make sure that you clarify your vision, your mission, and your goals. I think just making sure that you not only clarify them and you understand them, but then your team buys in. So you want to get that together at your executive level. You want to press that out to your senior management, and then allow your senior management to kind of communicate that through the rest of the team. The next thing is just that communication. That is key to success. Not only just communicating your vision, mission, your goals, but just everything is part of communication.
Oh yeah.
I mean, communication's
people need to know what their expectations are.
Right, absolutely.
What does it mean to be a member of this team?
Right. You can't get a success. You can't hit the target if you don't know where the target even is. That's right. So communication is the key to success. Imagine having a marriage or a friendship or a business relationship, any type of relationship, without great communication is just not going to work. It simply is not going to work. Just show them the importance of their role. Allow them to understand there's 2 things that people want to know, right? They want to know they're needed, and they want to know that they're wanted or they're valued. That's 2 things that everybody wants to have, right? They're needed and they're wanted. That's a big deal.
That's important, especially because there are people who serve in a role that maybe is more behind the scenes. And, oftentimes people in sales or some front-facing, public-facing customer service, those folks, they get more of the attention naturally because they're more visible.
Right.
But without those people behind the scenes making whatever magic they make happen, the rest of it those people would never look good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you want to basically show them the importance of their role. Like we were just talking about, you want to give them credit. You take the blame. Like you take the blame on them. That helps them buy in, and they'll go to war with you every day, all day long. And market yourself internally. Make sure that people love to understand what you do, how you do it, as if they are a consumer. If your team feels like they would buy what you do, then other people will buy what you do. So there's no doubt about it.
So while we're talking for just a minute about morale and culture, that word culture is such a buzzword today, Matt, and we see it all over the place. And for many people, I think when they hear the word culture, they think kumbaya, they think bean bags and ice cream cones. And
they think Google.
Yeah,
they think slides in the office.
Right.
They think all that type of stuff. And
which your office can have those things, but that's not culture.
No.
That's a whole nother thing.
Right.
But culture is kind of the DNA of who your organization is, why you exist, how you operate, what type of values you represent,
right?
How you're going to treat each other, how you're going to communicate. It's all of those things that are so important to success. And as you pointed out, Peter Drucker saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. It eats lunch and dinner and every snack in between.
Yeah, culture, I think, is probably one of the most important things of the workplace. So, if you have good employees and you create a good culture, now you're ready for some clients, right? Some customers, some patients. If you're a doctor or a physician or something, healthcare customers, or clients, whatever have you, whatever you call them. But it's time to actually get some revenue. You go get those from customers, right? How do you attract new customers?
Be a really thin culture without any revenue coming in to help support it and pay the people.
It would be you.
So that speed bump number 3 we're going to discuss is attracting new customers. You're either growing or you're dying. Mm-hmm. And so if your business has been flat for any given time, you've got some problems you need to address. If you're sliding backward and it's not an isolated event, this year, COVID, if your revenue's down this year and you're in certain industries, it'd be really difficult for it not to be.
Yeah.
Don't let this year determine or dictate where you go in the future. And don't base your future results based on what this year looked like.
Right.
You find a way to still win either way, but attracting new customers. So it's really just lead generation. We see lots of people having lead gen problems. Here are some of the things we hear folks saying. Our sales team spends a lot of time cold calling. It's time consuming. It's a long sales process.
It does.
You got to have a lot of, you got to have thick skin because you're going to hear no more often than you're going to hear yes. And that's challenging for a lot of people.
You got to have a lot of leads.
You do. And your salespeople can only be out and meeting with so many people. Our sales team doesn't have enough leads.
Right.
The quality of the leads we're generating is weak. So maybe they're generating, but they're not the right opportunities. We aren't bringing in enough new customers to reach our goals. And that's really what it's all about is establishing goals and then determining what it's going to take to reach that target. So here's some tips for establishing a solid lead gen strategy. First, establish those goals. So often we hear people say, well, we need more new customers. Okay, how many new customers? What's the value of a new customer?
Right.
You got to answer those questions. How many new customers do you need to add to your book of business and by when? So make sure you use the SMART goal kind of process that's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, like you said a few minutes ago, Matt, when we were talking about some other things, you said you got to identify your target or there is no target.
Yeah.
So clarify that target. Then create a lead generator tool, some resource that is valuable to the audience you're trying to reach. Help them solve a fraction of the problem that you are able to help them solve. Give them the information they need for them to begin to work on solving that problem, even if it's helping them solve it themselves.
Yeah.
You create that lead generator and you create a landing page that you embed it on, and then you promote that lead generator. Now, once someone takes action to capture that lead generator, they want that piece of content, have it open a form gate where they fill out a form to get access to that, to immediate access to that lead generator, and that's going to add them into a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, we'll talk about that later on in this show.
Yeah.
But CRM, customer relationship management, it's a software system where it houses all of your prospects, customers, former customers, vendors, all of your contacts, all in one centralized piece of software.
What you're doing with them, conversations, if you gave them a proposal, if you didn't, what they purchased in the past,
All that data.
Everything.
So important. So create an automated sales campaign. It can be kicked off triggered through the CRM.
Yeah.
That will drip, whether that's email, text messages, retargeted ads, out to these folks to nurture them. What we're trying to do is move them through the sales funnel
through the
and
process.
get them so
Top
that way
of
your
funnel
sales
to bottom
folks,
of funnel and to buy.
Yeah, imagine if your sales folks could focus on people who are in the middle to bottom of the funnel versus cold calling.
Yep.
Their time would be much better served and their success rate would be considerably higher.
Yeah.
And then just promote those lead generators. And so you could do that through a variety of ways. Again, it depends on where your audience is hanging out. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google search, all those are great places to promote
even offline,
that valuable content.
Right? Depending on where you are from a geography perspective.
That's
and
right.
Demography.
New word.
Demographically, whatever. You have to promote it to people where they are at the time. Hey, so now we got a great great employees. We got a great morale and culture. We got new clients. Now, what's the important thing to do? Keep them. Keep the clients, retain them, upsell them, cross-selling, right? Nothing is at least expensive for a client attraction than to just sell your current clients upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So customer retention. If your customers only buy from you one time and you have a recurring product, you got a problem, right? If customers are kind of one and done or they bounce, your website's got a high bounce rate, your checkout card, if you sell products, got a high bounce rate, there's a problem. And so just retaining clients is a big deal. And here's what it is. Mike actually said this a little earlier. He said, communicate. You have to communicate. You want to keep a client happy? You want to keep a client long-term? Every client that we've ever lost, Mike, here at Splash in our marketing company, which, by the way, we have a 92% retention rate from year to year. What we do works, and it works really good. But it's not 100%. I would be shocked if any business has 100%. So I feel really good about ours. But you also say, well, what happened in the times where we missed? Right. What happened to times where we struck out? And I would say almost all of those are because we dropped the ball in our communication.
There's some failed communication.
It's got to be.
Whether it's not setting expectations in advance,
right,
or whether that just being actively engaged in helping them, but not keeping them in the loop.
Yeah.
That leads to lots of
sometimes
problems.
they don't even know that what we're doing is actually working.
Well, especially
right?
in an industry like ours. But there are folks out there who they're thinking, well, I sell a product, or people only call me when they have an emergency problem. And so talk a little bit about that. Talk about
we're
customers.
talking about, and when we're talking about upselling and reselling, even if you're selling a product, do you want to sell more of them? Do you want to sell accessory products to the product that they purchased if that's a one-time product? Like we have a roofing company example, right? Can be considered a product. It can be even considered a service, right? I don't know. You get a roof, but they have the service to put it on, and very few people buy more than one roof, right? But every one of those people have a roof, have friends that need a roof, right? And so if you want to get referrals from those people, that's cross-selling opportunity to one-time, one-and-done product offering, right? Then how do you do it? You want to communicate with them. So basically, here's what you want to do. You want to kick it into an automated system with automated messages. You want to make sure that you're targeting and retargeting through their social media. You want to make sure that you have a text messaging program. And this is all if applicable, right? Not all of this is going to be applicable to each thing, but this is how we think. You and I think like this. Our team thinks like this. And you have to excite them. You have to ascend them to the next thing, right? Upsell them one to number two to number three. If you have a product or something,
can we talk about that, Matt? So what we find is that when someone makes their first purchase, they generally are not going to, you haven't established deep trust yet.
Right.
Really, the relationship is only beginning.
Right.
Once they've consummated the first purchase, when they come back and you can cross-sell them or bring them back for a second visit, a second purchase, they will more freely spend. They are much more in position to invest more with you because they've already experienced.
And what they've done is they value at this point via communication. They value the product and or service that they've gotten, right? But even more now, they value the relationship that they have with you that are selling it to them, right? Because they now see you as the expert. They now see you as the educator in that space, whatever that space is. And so it's because you've communicated with them, like literally.
It doesn't matter if you're selling T-shirts, tuxedos, plumbing,
services. The first example, if I buy a T-shirt, you know how many other T-shirts most T-shirt companies can sell me? So if I buy a T-shirt, well, what's going to happen is I should go back to my social media page and I should see a carousel of all of the other products that you sell. I should get an email like the day after I purchased it or the day after it was shipped, telling me that it was shipped. I should get an email a week in asking me if I've worn my T-shirt yet or not, how comfortable it is. And by the way, here's a bunch of other T-shirts that I think you would find extremely interesting, maybe for your spouse, maybe for your kids, maybe for your friends.
Take a picture of you in that T-shirt and send it into us, and you get a discount.
Right. So now you're talking about user content, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's all types of ways that you can just continuously communicate with people in order to do that, right? And so you literally want to then make sure that you're creating a system that enables people to advocate on your behalf, right? So you're talking about testimonials or reviews on the website or on Google, on social media. I can tell you, a lot of people today go on and search what they're going to buy based off the review. I mean,
that's
reviews
part of
are probably one of the most important things, right? Mm-hmm. And then promotion. If you're really communicating with people on a regular basis, it enables people ask me, Mike, all the time. People ask me, now, why is it that people advertise in my business and I don't ever advertise, and all I get is referrals? And you know what I tell them? I say, if you advertise, it enables more referrals to take place, because what it does is it reminds people who they do business with, and it enables people to more easily refer them, because you can easily say, hey, you know what? This is the lawyer that I do business with. Mm-hmm. You saw him, and here's my email that he sent me. I'm going to forward it to you. Or here is the car lot that I purchased my recent car from. I just saw him on social media, and I forward it to you. Right? I mean, here's the accountant that I use, and we were at a dinner party, and you were saying how you need a better bookkeeping or a better accountant, and so he sent me an email. I'll just forward it to you.
And if you want, someone might be willing to leave a brief review if you really are intentional about going after them, even after one purchase. But if they've only experienced one transaction with you, one time, one product, they're not yet really equipped to be a true promoter of your business. Yeah. I mean, those who have purchased numerous times, have experienced building the relationship with you over a period of time, and they've experienced many of your products and services, and again, across numerous transactions, they're best equipped to really talk to others on your behalf.
Yeah.
And so it really, again, they become great promoters for your business.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's what you want. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, what you really want is creators, people that like go out and create. And that usually takes place in things like networking groups and grassroots types of marketing. You know, see, people think when they contact like a Splash Omnimedia, an example, right? A lot of people think they contact companies like that just for advertising. But, you know, if you get a good marketing firm versus just a good advertising agent, right? Which is one of
very different,
very different. Then what you're getting is you get people who believe in all sources of revenue generation, right? And so you create strategies for home shows and trade shows, for grassroots, like the chamber, like you're on the board of the local chamber here. We have one of our sales reps that's council of a small business council member, or actually, I think he's the chair of that council, right? Of another chamber. I mean, we're heavily involved. You got networking chambers, you got grassroots, then you have advertising online and offline. I mean, all of it really makes a difference. So as you go down through some of these speed bumps, and we're getting ready to get into a couple more that I think everybody would be very interested in. You know, you're looking at these things and saying, wow, these are the exact same issues my company is really struggling with. So this show, and we can dive deeper into those things. Hey, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and listen to us live on the radio, or just check us out on social media, thebrainstormradio.com. Or you can check out our advertising marketing strategy firm over at splashomnimedia.com. Mike, so if we have good employees and we have a great company morale and culture, we've attracted new customers and we're able to retain them, that sounds like a pretty good formula for success right there, you know?
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about, okay, there's a lot of competition in my business, a lot of competition in my industry, business owners might think, right? So things like insurance and things like real estate, things like law or legal profession. I mean, there's so many just very competitive industries, and a lot. And then you have the people who have large advertising budgets. People can just blow it out, right? And you have some more middle of the road budgets, if you will, and you have some low to sometimes no budgets, right? So these people are saying, well, nobody knows who we are. Yeah, like nobody knows who we are. How do we even start getting our message out or competing? What would you say to the question that really nobody knows who we are?
So I'm gonna reframe that statement a little bit,
okay?
Because we hear it kind of positioned in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
So like we like brand awareness.
I love that. I hear that. Mm-hmm.
We get asked all the time, "How long have you been in business?"
Yeah,
and not because they think you've been in business for 100 years, but because they're looking at you like, "Where did you come from?"
Right. I've never heard of you.
Never heard of you. Prospects, they'll often ask for a lot of references before they'll make a commitment to buy from you. And it's because they haven't yet confirmed that you have the authority and experience to help them. So there's some question about that. The target audience is more familiar with your competitors.
Right.
That stinks when you're up against, hey, we're familiar with this brand, and we thought they were the only game in town, and so you're fighting a little bit of an uphill battle.
I'm a local hardware store, but everybody goes to Lowe's, right? That's everybody knows Lowe's,
right? Exactly. And so what that is a branding issue.
Yeah.
And so what you really need to do is launch an ongoing branding campaign, a branding strategy, and where that starts is you begin a great branding strategy by first kind of cementing visual brand standards.
Yeah.
Beyond, that means you want to keep things looking consistent everywhere they turn, especially if you have a more modest budget,
Right.
you can't afford to confuse anyone.
Right.
If they see variations of your brand in different places, they're not likely to connect the dots and even recognize it's the same company
Right.
being represented. So
Yeah.
you've got to keep it consistent. You want to implement.
Because 90+% of people are very visual. So the look is vital. Is vital.
Definitely. So you want to implement a communication framework that clarifies your message points. Your message points need to speak to the problems that your customers are having. You help them resolve, and you need to beat the drum with that content. You need to make sure you're saying the same things over and over and over again, because chances are the first, second, even sixth or seventh time your prospect sees it, it just doesn't penetrate their mind. They've got too much other noise coming at them. You got to create and promote quality content using that framework. Tell you this, pro tip, video is what? King?
Video is king.
Yeah, I mean,
video is king. I mean, 4 billion, over 4 billion YouTube videos are being watched every single day.
It's amazing.
Just on YouTube.
Yeah. Only on YouTube.
Right.
And video has penetrated pretty much every digital channel.
And there's only 7 billion people in the world, and a third of the world doesn't even have internet content. So if you don't think video works, you're crazy.
I saw a stat that said by 2022, they estimate that 80+% of all digital content will be in the form of video.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Doesn't surprise me.
So you want to frequently engage your audience, the people that are the right people for you, the people you'd like to become your customers or your existing customers, using organic search, targeted ads on social. If your audience is hanging out there, which most likely they're on at least one, if not more of those platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, all of those are social platforms that you can engage your audience. You can also pay to reach them there, as well as Google search, YouTube. Exhibit at industry trade shows. You talked about that a few minutes ago. What we're doing is talking about being visible,
being present,
visible where your audience is at. If you're going to exhibit at a trade show, whether that's local, if you're a local focused organization, or whether that's industry related, go above and beyond. Don't skip the little bit of investment to make sure you have a great
I agree.
booth.
I agree.
Set the stage.
I mean, you're already spending X plus I had another half is not, I mean, you're already going to invest.
Yeah.
I mean, why go and invest and get nothing where you can invest maybe a little bit more and maximize everything you could
Great booth goes a long
way.
And especially when you're trying to build credibility.
You know, it's funny that you talk about that. I've actually heard people say this. I have some friends that said this just not even that long ago. They said, you know what I hate? I hate when these advertisers are like, I'm thinking about buying, I'm not going to tell you the product or service or whatever, but I'm thinking about buying this thing, right? This product. But I went to their website to buy it, and their website is crap, but this product is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And so, you know what I hate? I hate when people ask me to invest in their business, but they don't even invest in their business.
Right.
And that's a telltale. Now, someone that's not in the marketing advertising space say that. I was like, wow, that's a very, very true statement.
Well, it shines a negative light on their brand.
Right.
Because now their perception of that brand is tarnished.
Is reduced. And you know what? The thing about it, to get that person back to buy your product now is going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah. Because now these cognitive biases that we all have, there's a seed that's been planted.
Right.
And now you have a much bigger speed bump to get over.
Yeah, now it's more like a roadblock.
Another thing you can do, Matt, is speak at an event. You want to raise authority and visibility, be the presenter. The communicator, the educator is the expert, and nothing builds credibility like speaking on a topic, especially if it's something of significance. Sponsor an event. You can sponsor local events, industry events, whether that be a cocktail hour at a large trade show where you invite some of your target audience to participate, or whether it be a local 5K if you serve a local audience. Just be visible. If you serve that local audience, again, digital billboards can be a great tool. Local radio, television, local publications. Those are all tools to help you kind of establish brand, and you're not necessarily measuring the result from that brand mention to an end customer. What you're doing is setting the stage to allow more people to be aware of your brand, so when they have a need, they think of you first.
Yeah.
One of the last two things I'll touch on this topic today, Matt, is outfit your team. If you've got a staff, make sure they're wearing branded apparel.
Yeah, that's easy to do and very inexpensive to do.
Yeah, I mean, so Brand Buzz, we'll give them a little plug here.
Yeah.
You can contact Manning, Bailey, Erica, and Ann over at Brand Buzz can help you outfit your team and make them look top notch.
It's important. You should have your people wear branded apparel every day that they work, because just first of all, the pride. Let's say they don't go out to lunch or something. Just have the pride of wearing the brand is important, right? Second of all, if they go to lunch together or separately, people see that. So now you're getting advertising dollars out of this.
That's right.
You might wear it to the gym. If you have T-shirts, you give your people T-shirts. You might have. What happens if you start giving your customers some of that type of stuff? Apparel is a big deal. It's a much bigger deal than people might think it is.
Yeah. The last thing I'll mention is ramp up your community involvement. If people don't know who you are, it's because you're stuck behind your desk or in the warehouse, and you might be filling plenty of orders, but you're not out building relationships. You're not building visibility. You and your people get involved in things like Rotary or Chamber or BNI or Lions Club or any other one of the many social community clubs that are available to join. Just ramp up that involvement.
Yeah, just get involved. And everything that Mike just said costs you very, very little to do.
That's
right?
the biggest
That's
thing.
all it does. And you run a business on purpose. Like, that's the thing you're doing, right? And so here's what we discussed today in this show. We've discussed how important navigating these business speed bumps are, right? Finding the right people, putting the right people in the right seats. We actually have a program through our Next Degree Leader that we can actually help you with that. And so that's a big deal. Building company morale and culture. We talk about this constantly, internally and externally. It's so important, right?
Yes, it is.
Then you got to have customers. You got employees, you got a team, you got a great team, you got a great culture, people ready to go. You got to have some revenue in order to pay them. They're really great people, and a great culture only goes so far by itself. Without its revenue, it's going to be very difficult. So you definitely want to get that, right? Then you want to keep those customers long term. Now we want to talk about revenue. Revenue is obviously
kind of critical,
very critical, much needed, especially on payday. I don't know if you pay on Fridays or the 1st and the 15th or however you pay. I mean, revenue is critical, right? But so is this, margins. Margins might even be more critical, because if you just look at revenue and not margins, then what you have is a large team, right, that is extremely overwhelmed. They're extremely busy, and the organization is simply just not making that much money.
Right.
Your revenue's up, your service is up, your overall growth is up, but your margins suck. Right. And so if your margins suck, your overall profits are going to suck. Right. And so how do you do that? Well, you have to add more value. Right. You might want to go to a good, better, best option. That's a great way of doing it. So you could package your services. I know a lot of people out there, even in the service business, these are easily thought about in the product business, right? Okay, we'll just package these products, and then a better scenario would be these 5 products. So maybe a good one would be these 3, a better would be these 5, and then the best would be these 7, right? That's easy to conceptualize in the product world, not necessarily in the service world. But believe it or not, there's all types of different good, better, best options. If you sell roofing, or if you sell more services, say HVAC or something of that nature, you have maintenance plans. You have, in the roofing business, you have gutters and siding and windows and, gutter protection, right? There's all types of ways you can package things to get a good, better, best option, Mike.
With the exception of a couple of industries, there's almost always a way to add more value and command a premium for
Absolutely.
your service. Oftentimes we find people think that they can't charge more for their service, and it's really they are the barrier to that. They haven't accepted or recognized their own value that they're adding.
Right.
And so if they stop and look around, they'll find out oftentimes that they have competitors who are out marketing them, and they wonder why they're able to do that. But it's because their margins are considerably thicker.
Right.
It could be process related. I mean, it could be that they don't have the right technology in place, and so they maybe are manually doing things over and over again that are time consuming, which requires more people power, and that may be sucking up their profits.
I'll tell you another one too for those that might not have an ancillary type of service to add on or whatever have you, right? I purchased some movie theater seating for my room over, as you know, and so when I was buying those couple of chairs, I never purchased movie theater seats before, and they're super cool, by the way.
Are they comfortable?
Oh my gosh, they are super cool. They got little blue neon lights, and they got USB chargers on it. They got a little table that moves around, holds your drink and your food. I mean, it is super, super freaking cool. So, and I was super impressed with the process of how I purchased it.
Were you worried about the comfort? Like, hey, they look cool online.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you don't know, like,
absolutely,
how thick is the cushion?
Absolutely. How far back do they go? How far? I mean, I worry about all of that because let me tell you, for my pocketbook, they're not cheap. So it was a long decision to actually have to purchase these things, but I'm super happy I did. But one of the things we were just talking about how you increase your margins. They know what they're doing, increasing their margins, because let me tell you what happened. I didn't know anything about these things. I didn't know how I was going to connect them because I bought two and they daisy chain together and then they connect to the wall because, you know, electricity but they have a battery backup because if you're in a reclined position and the battery and the wall unit goes out, I mean, you have to be able to get back out.
You just be stuck in the reclined position forever, and what would you do?
And so they have a battery backup system and all that, right? I didn't know how all that worked. So you know what they did? They had a product of you buy it and then you do it. Like I'll ship it to you and then you put it together.
Okay.
And then you daisy chain it and all this type of stuff. And they come with videos and instructions, but they had an upsell, right? For only a couple of $100 more, $200, $250 more, you buy it and we do it. Versus you buy it and you do it.
Yep.
Right. So it was a white glove concierge service. We bring it in, we set it up where you want it, we get it all fixed up, we daisy chain it together. We basically do everything but bring you your drink and your popcorn, you're ready to watch the movies.
Right.
Well, of course I chose that option, right? Yeah. Absolutely. I chose that. I was like, for $200, I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to be able to walk up there and say, this is where I want them. The next thing I want to do is sit in them and watch some movies. Right. That's what I did. They increased their margin just like that because they already had to pay those movers.
Right.
They cost them no extra. They literally made another $250, $300 off of me just simply because they offered that option.
Right. And it was a more enjoyable customer experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're not buying those chairs because you have to.
Right.
That is
it's a luxury type
It's a luxury item.
Right?
It's something you're buying for entertainment purposes,
That's
for
right.
comfort.
That's right.
And to enjoy the experience of being at the movies while at home.
Another thing to increase your margins is don't sell the product that sucks at a sucky price, right? You know what I mean? You can have a middle of the road product, right? As far as quality goes, right? But as people are going to value how you value it, right? So I can guarantee you that if you think your product is more middle of the road, it's probably better than middle of the road. That's just what you think of it, right? And I'm just telling you, create a product and value it, build education around it, and sell it at a good, fair price, right? And that fair price might not be as low as you think it is. Like a lot of people sit around and say, oh my gosh, nobody will pay me for that. And that's just not true.
You know, where we see that a lot, Matt, is in industries where products have a cost factor or the products are very similar on the surface to what the competition offers. And everyone says, well, I don't really have a differentiator. I mean, we're all the same. Well, if you speak about the benefits that your product or service can add to your customer's life, how you can make their life better by them buying your product or service, and you speak the most clearly, way more than your competitors, you'll win. Your product is superior.
Right.
If they're not saying it and you are, you're helping them make a more specific buying decision.
Yeah.
And you're easing that
And then if
process
you add
for them.
like a risk reducer, like a money back guarantee or a limited lifetime warranty or whatever have you, it just makes it that much more appealing because, hey, if I don't like it, I can always, get my money back type of thing. And I actually did have an issue with it because with the chairs I was talking about, because when they installed them, the installers or whatever, ripped a little bit of leather on the arm. I didn't even see it because they pushed the two chairs together. You know how tight the movie theaters chairs are. They pushed them together, and the leather ripped. And I don't know if it was ripped like that before or after. But when I noticed it, I finally took a picture, sent it in, and the very next day they called me and they had an upholsterer drive up from about 30 mile away, free of charge, no charge, 30 mile away, drove up and fixed it immediately. So
that's great customer service.
Yeah, that's great customer service, and it's made me just tell you about it on the show. And I've told a bunch of other people about that experience many times.
And again, that shows that people who buy that product can have confidence that if they have a problem, that company has historically, based on a customer's review right here, taken care of it immediately, and that's worth paying a little bit more for the product, even though there looks to be a comparable product available by another supplier, maybe that doesn't have kind of that experience out in the marketplace.
Hey, you're listening to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. We're talking about navigating business speed bumps. I appreciate you listening and joining us today. Mike, we have talked a lot about CRMs, customer relationship management, and workflows, and so on and so forth. Okay, and you mentioned it quite a bit. I think it's important that we break down a CRM and talk about the advantages of data mining and things of that nature, and just spend just a couple of minutes on how important a CRM is, because a lot of people might even have a CRM, they just don't use it right? And that's probably most people. And then there's some people that don't have one at all. Yeah. And so I think it's vital that we spend a little bit of time on that speed bump, business speed bump. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of it and how you really employ it in a business. Yeah.
So what we find oftentimes, Matt, surprisingly, there's some large organizations, many large organizations that I guess are slow to move. And they don't have a clearly defined customer relationship management system. They don't have a way for their team to have access to the same customer data. It's buried in Rolodexes or maybe it's not existent at all, or it's on sticky notes with phone numbers, or it's in different people's mobile phones, or an Excel spreadsheet. So it's some dated antiquated technology they're using or process that doesn't allow them to tap into the real power that today's customer relationship management software systems can provide. There's anything from enterprise level all the way down to entry level CRMs that you can get at really affordable rates. We work with quite a few of them, and what we mostly advocate is have one. Mm-hmm. If you don't have your customer information housed in a centralized, cloud-hosted place, you need to make that happen. That's one of the most valuable assets to any company, is a list with your prospects and customers' data where you're tracking all of their interactions with your brand and your team over an extended period of time. So here's some things that we recommend. Organize all of your business contact info, prospects, clients, vendors, any type of contact whatsoever in your CRM. Segment those folks, categorize them based on where they're at in the relationship. Are they an existing customer? Are they a former customer? Are they existing customer and they've bought and experienced all of the services that you offer? What level of customer are they? So you want to identify all of those things. Record and track all customer activity and interactions. If they call in and you speak to them, record it. If you send them an email, have it you can actually have it with a lot of the software systems where it'll pull that data automatically in, which is a huge time saver.
Records the phone call. It can do it. If you send an email, sometimes your emails can sync up from your Outlook to your CRM. And what happens if your salesperson leaves?
Right. Or they're out sick.
And
they call in or they send an email.
Right.
You don't, or they're out on maternity leave. You want to make sure that you can be up to speed on
all contact,
where that contact is in process, what conversations have happened, so that way you can communicate it clearly with that customer and help guide them as quickly as possible to the desired outcome that they're
and you know what
for.
too, Mike, we've talked about trade shows and home shows and things of that nature on our shows in the past, and over the years, many years ago, people would just flock to them. Not consumers, but vendors would flock to them to be represented at the home show or trade show. And what happens is you see people go through cycles like, oh gosh, I got to go to do this trade show. I got to put up this booth. They see it as this. I don't get anything from it. That's basically what everybody that's disgruntled with a trade show or home show says. I don't get anything from it, right? And you know why? Because they're going with the wrong intentions. What they're doing is they're going to I want a customer. Like I want someone to come and sign to get a new roof.
That's right.
While I'm standing in a booth at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
I'm
not saying that can't happen. I'm saying that absolutely can happen. But the data mining is what you go for. You go in order to data mine. Get as many contacts. Why do you think people give stuff away at their trade show booths, their home shows? In order to put people in their CRM. So this CRM is the hub of your business. Like Absolutely. We talk about people's websites, their digital footprint of being the hub of their advertising. The CRM is the hub of their business operations. Right. And so you're hitting the nail on the head about the CRM. This is vital. And people just don't buy in like they should.
Yeah. The amazing thing is you can take marketing and sales and really marry them together. But CRM is the vital technology necessary to make that happen. So once someone enters that CRM, if they're a prospect, whether a salesperson enters their information or they get entered because they subscribe to get access to a lead generator, or if they filled out a form or any other way that they end up in your database based on certain parameters, whether it's pages they visit on your website, forms they completed to get access again to that lead generator, it can then automatically kick off specific workflows that are geared toward people who are in that stage of their buying journey and starts sending them relevant information. Email, it can trigger text messaging, it can trigger retargeted ads across the web, whether that's social media or display, YouTube, to help continue to cultivate and nurture that relationship and guide them toward making a buying decision with you. And so while the salesperson is really focused on helping those who are already further in the sales journey, your CRM can help power a lot of ongoing nurturing to move people from really top of the funnel, oftentimes depending on your industry, down to really the very near bottom of the funnel.
And so the CRM is the hub of the business by really, in the most, I guess, simple way of summarizing everything that you just said, because it controls your communication.
Right.
It literally controls all of the communication that someone does. Right. So if someone needs to call someone, it tells them to communicate that way. If someone needs to send a personal letter, then the CRM triggers that. If someone needs to get an email, then it triggers that in a pre-written email. It is the hub of your organization's external communications. And so if communication is the key to success, and the CRM is the centralized hub that triggers all communication externally, that is kind of a no-brainer. And so it is weird that people don't understand it and doesn't properly deploy it and employ it like they should from a business perspective.
It's vitally important, and I like to believe that the majority of people, once it's explained, understand and can see how it could really help their business. I think what most people struggle with is finding which one is right for them in implementation. If you've not
That's probably the
implemented
hardest part.
technology like
No,
this
that's the
before,
hardest part.
It's challenging when you don't know the process.
That's the hardest part. There's no doubt about it. You're exactly right. So trying to find which software solution, we already know that we already know the struggle and pain it is to switch software and even to employ a new software, but going out and having to search for one and get the right one. And because once you've put a bunch of time, money, and effort into one, switching is simply just, it is painful.
Oh, yeah.
It is painful. No doubt about it. Hey, well, we really appreciate you guys joining us today, whether you're watching us on video, whether you're listening to us on the radio, whether you are checking us out through social media. We really appreciate you. It's our listeners and our viewers that give us an opportunity to produce this content to help our business executives, in this particular case, navigate some business speed bumps. So on behalf of my business partner, Michael White, I appreciate you guys. Go to our website, thebrainstormradio.com, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Contact us, 803-785-5656. We'll answer any questions that you have. Thanks for watching.